Shalom, Chaverim. Welcome to another episode of your favorite podcast.
We're so glad to have you back. If you're new here, welcome. You have a great taste in podcasts. I'm Ron.
And I'm Naama.
And we're both 18-year-olds from Israel. This past August, we packed our bags and took a flight to Cincinnati in order to serve as young emissaries and teach about Israel before we go back and start our army service.
And we're really excited to be here. It's definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Plus, let's be honest, it's a great excuse to try every type of junk food we can find. Last episode, we talked a bit more about our lives back home and the program that brought us here. We also explained what the word diaspora means and what we do as young emissaries, or shinshinim.
In this episode, we're going to be moving to a different topic that involves both Israel and America. But don't think we forgot. Let's learn about this episode's word of the day.
Just to remind you, every episode we will have a different Hebrew word of the day that connects to our topic in one way or another. Today's word of the day is Tarbut. A little hard to pronounce, I know.
Don't worry if you can't pronounce it. Just say it confidently and pretend that you're fluent in Hebrew. We do it all the time in English. Tarbut in Hebrew means culture. It's the values and costumes by which we live. You will see how it connects to this episode's topic soon. But before that, we have another surprise for you.
Today, we are so excited to have a guest with us. Yes, guys, we have friends here. Kate, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Allison, and I'm a senior at Walnut Hills High School, where I also serve as the president of JSU. JSU is the Jewish Student Union at Walnut, and at the Jewish Student Union, we meet every other week to talk about and explore the Jewish culture a little more, and you can be Jewish or not Jewish to come, and it's really fun.
Today, Kate has joined us to talk about the cultural differences between Israel and America. We've been here for a few good months now. Crazy, we know. And we've noticed quite a few gaps between the life we're used to and the life that we see those around us living.
We're going to dive deep into what life as a teen looks like in Israel versus what life in America looks like, what family life looks like, and all the ways we are the same and also very different.
Since meeting you guys, I've definitely noticed that we have a lot of cultural differences. I'm excited to learn a little about Israeli life and tell you a little bit about my life as an American teenager.
Let's start with talking about our school life. I always feel like American high school is like a Netflix movie or something.
Right?
Let me tell you a little bit about what my life looks like in school and outside of it.
Okay, walk us through what a typical day looks like for you.
Well, I wake up at 6 and leave for school at 7. I have classes until 3, and I'm currently taking 3 AP classes, AP Lit, AP Art History, and AP Comparative Government. And then I take my brother home from school and go to the gym and finish my homework, shower, eat dinner, and go to bed.
That's really interesting. Can you explain to our listeners who don't know what AP is?
Yeah, AP classes are basically college-level classes taught in high school, and I'm really lucky because my high school offers so many of them. And you take an exam at the end of the year, and if you pass it, you get credits for college.
That's interesting because in Israel, our school system works in a little bit of a different way. We don't have AP classes, and instead of that, we sort of declare 2 majors in the beginning of high school. For example, mine were chemistry and computer science. At the end of high school, we get tested on those subjects.
These majors also give you an opportunity to kind of explore the topics that you like during high school and see if you want to pursue it in the future.
That was really interesting. Another big difference that I've noticed so far is our post-high school experience. While many Americans and other teens throughout the world graduate high school and immediately go to college, Israelis have a completely different experience.
Totally. I never thought about how different it is until I got here. In Israel, army service is mandatory for most citizens for a period of 2 to 3 years, and sometimes even more.
In junior year of high school, instead of thinking about which college we want to go to, we have to think about where we want to serve in the army. And in senior year, instead of submitting applications and waiting for results from our dream college, we interview for different units in the army and try our best to get the role where we believe we would have the most impact.
It's a very different experience, but at least we have one commonality. We all spend our senior year of high school anxiously waiting for results that will later largely impact our lives.
Basically, same stress, just with more uniforms and less dorm room decor.
It's really cool to see how even though we're so different, there's still so many similarities in the little things, emotions and struggles that teenagers experience everywhere.
I agree. So, Kate, how do you feel about the fact that we don't go straight to college after high school? Would you trade dorm room ramen for combat boots? Or do you think each path has its own pros and cons?
Well, I think it's cool that you guys get a little break from school, but for me, I personally would rather just go to high school and then go straight to college because I have so much school. After undergrad, I want to go to grad school too. So that's at least 7 years of school. And I kind of just want to get it over with, but having a break in between also sounds nice.
I just can't imagine having to declare a major so early in life. I mean, I barely know what I want for breakfast most days. In a lot of ways, I'm glad to have more time to learn about myself and to help and protect my country. But I definitely understand wanting to keep studying while it's still fresh in your head.
There are still people in the U.S. that choose to defer their studies by a year. Around 2 to 3% of high school graduates in America decide to go on gap years, whether they're structured programs or just an opportunity to take a break for a while. Some even enlist in the army like you guys will.
The situation is not so different in Israel. About 10% of high school graduates choose to defer their army service for a year and join one of two types of programs, a service year or a preparatory year.
A service year is focused on volunteering in different places in Israel and around the world, in areas such as education, agriculture, construction, and more. This type of program is the reason that we get to be here in Cincinnati. A preparatory year is focused more on learning while also emotionally and physically preparing yourself for the army.
So you're telling me that on top of having to serve in the army for 2 to 3 years, 10% of Israelis decide to wait for one more year before they can start studying? That means they go to college around the age of 22.
And don't forget the post-army trip that many Israelis take for a few months.
And having to do the Israeli equivalent of the SATs.
And also wanting to work for a while and earn some money to pay for your degree.
As you can see, Israelis do it differently.
Speaking of Israelis doing it differently, I'm interested to know how American teenagers view Israel and what they know or don't know about Israel and the people that live there. Good thing we have our special guest here today to help us with that.
Kate, if I asked you to tell me about Israel in 3 words, what would you say?
Beautiful, accepting, and unique.
That's really interesting. Let's talk about these words for a second. Why did you choose them?
Well, everyone that's been to Israel knows how beautiful it is. Everywhere is so different, but everywhere has its own beauty. And accepting because everyone in Israel is very different despite what some people may believe. But everyone also has open arms and just accepts anyone even if they're different. And unique because, well, it's the only Jewish country in the whole entire world. And you can't really find anywhere else like it.
So, how would you say you view Israel overall? What are some things you think about Israel, either about the country itself or the people who live there?
I've been to Israel, so I know, but a common misconception that I've heard quite a lot is that Israel is just a desert and technology isn't widely used there. I've heard that people don't know how advanced Israel is.
Kate, did you know I have a pet camel?
No, you don't.
No, I don't, but that would be sick.
And focus and stop trolling Kate. Everyone knows we keep the camels at school.
Stop.
Fine. The truth is, Israel is a global leader in innovation. It's even called a startup nation. We have one of the highest numbers of startups in the world, and some of the biggest tech companies have come out of Israel.
Really? Like what?
Well, have you ever used Waze for directions? It was developed in Israel and later bought by Google. Or how about Mobileye? It's a company that develops car technology.
And it's not just tech. Israel is also a leader in medical research. We have top hospitals and research facilities that develop groundbreaking treatments. For example, Israeli scientists have made major advancements in cancer treatment and robotic-assisted surgery.
That's really interesting. I think when a lot of people think of Israel, they imagine the Israel that existed 60 years ago and not the one that exists now. What else have you heard?
Another interesting misconception that I've heard is about the religious aspect of Israeli society.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Israeli society is really diverse in all ways. Not only are people diverse in their ethnicities and backgrounds, but they're also very diverse in their Judaism.
Kate, Before we dive deeper into religion in Israel, can you tell us how you experience religion here in Cincinnati?
Of course. I'm not a very religious person, but to me, being Jewish is more about community and being present. So I like to go to a lot of community events and try to be as involved as I can.
Our communities are so different from one another, even though we are all Jewish. It's interesting to be here and experience Jewish life in this new and cool way.
Yep. Let's go back to Judaism in Israel. Naama and I both come from Chiloni backgrounds.
Haloni? I've never heard that word before.
Chiloni means secular. In Israel, a large part of the Jewish population identifies as Chiloni, meaning they don't strictly follow religious laws, but they still celebrate Jewish traditions and holidays as part of Israeli culture.
Right. Being Chiloni in Israel doesn't mean being disconnected from Judaism. Many secular Israelis still have Shabbat dinners with their families, celebrate holidays, and feel deeply connected to Jewish identity. It's just more about culture and heritage than religious observance.
Yes, just because I can't remember the last time I was inside of a synagogue in Israel doesn't make me any less Jewish.
Hey, we still go to synagogue for some major holidays and celebrations. Plus, I think this year we've been to more than enough synagogues to make up for that.
True. Apart from Chiloni, we have Masorati, which is conservative, Dati, which is Orthodox, and Haredi, which is ultra-Orthodox, and Reform Jews. Each group experiences Judaism differently and has different customs and traditions.
Wait, so you say our Reform Judaism is similar to yours? What about our conservative?
I think that's one of the things I was surprised to see when coming here. Even our streams of Judaism are very different.
100%. From what we've experienced in the community so far, Judaism here is practiced in a much different way, even within the same streams of the religion. More songs, more flexibility. It's fascinating to see and be a part of.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread.
That's definitely my favorite Jewish prayer that I've learned this year.
Agreed.
I have a weird question.
Go for it.
Would you say religious and secular Jews in Israel interact a lot?
It depends. In some cities like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, you'll see all kinds of Jews living together. But there are also neighborhoods and communities that are more divided. There are tensions on sides, especially about public religious laws like whether stores should be open on Shabbat. But we'll expand on that in a different episode.
Speaking of diversity in Israel, I'm curious about how diversity between different religions looks and feels.
Let's talk about that for a bit. I'm from Haifa, which is one of Israel's most diverse cities. You can literally walk down the street and see a synagogue, a church, and a mosque all within a few blocks of each other. Jews, Muslims, and Christians live side by side, and while things aren't always perfect, there's a real sense of community.
Exactly. In places like Haifa and Yafo or Jaffa, people from different religious backgrounds go to the same schools, work in the same hospitals, and shop at the same markets. It's normal for us to grow up around the different cultures and traditions.
Israel is truly like a big melting pot, with many different religions, ethnicities, and backgrounds living together side by side.
And let's not forget the Druze community. The Druze are a unique religious and ethnic minority in Israel, with their own costumes and beliefs. Unlike other minority groups, many Druze serve in the Israeli military and are deeply integrated into Israeli society.
Some of my closest friends in high school were Druze, and it was always so cool to see their love for Israel, even though they live completely different lives than me.
That's really cool. Would you say that people from different religions interact a lot?
Absolutely. Of course, there are political and historical tensions in some areas, but in many cities, people coexist. It's not something we always think about because it's just part of life.
Thank you, guys. I really learned a lot. I think this is something that we don't really open up about, so it was interesting to hear from your personal experiences and stories.
Thank you, Kate, for being with us today and teaching us a little bit more about being a teenager here in America. We're so happy that we were able to talk about our differences and look at our identities as more than just stereotypes defined by society.
Speaking of, it's time to wrap up this episode with the song of the day. This song is called Wikipedia, and it was written by Israeli singer and songwriter Hanan Ben Ari. Its lyrics protest against stereotypes and prejudice that exist in Israeli and global society. The song ends on a hopeful note. May there come a day when we won't put anyone in a cage, based on stereotypes, and that prejudice will stop being a part of our society.
Amen. Enjoy.
כמה נוח לזרום עם המוח בהתניות אוטומטיות שלא דורשות לטרוח, רק לתייג ולנבוח, להסיט ולסבוח, לאלילי הרייטינג אייטמים בכל הכוח. הכל כבר מסודר לנו בראש, מגירות, לא ניתן למציאות להפריע לנו לראות שכל שמאלני הוא בוגד, כל ערבי מחבל מתאבד, כל חרדי הוא שודד וכל המתנחלים רצו את רבין. כל תל אביב טבעונית, כל נתיבות מסורתית עממית, כל הדתיים פרימיטיביים עם ציצית, ועל הדרך מחקו את דרווין. אל תכלאוני בשום כלום, אל תסכמו אותי בוויקיפדיה. אני הכל, אני לא כלום, אור אין סוף לבוש בגוף, אז אל תכלאוני בשום כלום. תקראו לי דון קישוט שמעז לקרוא תיגר, שימו לי פרס על הראש וגיליוטינה בכיכר, השדים זמנם עבר והמלך הוא עירום, תמחקו את כל מה שידעתם על היד היום. לא הנוער המתנחל, לא נציג של אלוהים, לא דוס שמדיר נשים, לא גשר בין המגזרים, יישרפו המגזרים, תשרפו דעות כתומות, לכל אחד יהיה סיכוי לכתוב את הסיפור שלו, כי אם הכל גלוי וידוע מראש, קלישאות, לא ניתן למציאות להפריע לנו לראות שכל מזרחי מקופח, כל חילוני הוא כופר מלוכלך, כל אנשים למטבח וכל הרוסים על סטלין. קלו כבר כל הקיצים, כל חבר כנסת קופה של שרצים, כל האתיופים רצים ואלו שלא שרים עם רייכל. אל תכלאוני בשום כלום, אל תסכמו אותי בוויקיפדיה. אני הכל, אני לא כלום, אור אין סוף לבוש בגוף, אז אל תכלאוני